So I listen to a lot of podcasts, and at some point I just realized that every podcast app I was using was either just a mobile app that I keep my phone charged for, I guess, or some desktop graphical user interface application that I didn't particularly want to open. Right? I don't want to navigate just by mouse. At least that's my thing. Or some web thing that forgot my progress that moment I closed the tab, right? And what I actually wanted was something that lives right inside my terminal, that works offline, doesn't phone home, and lets me navigate with the keyboard like everything else that I use, right? I'm even using Vim key bindings in my browser to navigate, right? You can see it on the screen right there. Yeah, and I couldn't find anything that I was happy with. So I built Podliner, which is a terminal podcast player. It runs cross platforms on Linux, macOS, and Windows. It uses vim-style keys. You can also use normal arrow keys and stuff like that. It syncs subscriptions, play history. You can sync stuff with the gPodder API, and you could also switch your audio engines. For example, the default one is VLC at the moment, but you could also switch to MPV or FF Play, or yeah, it's just pretty modular. And I will just show you a quick walkthrough: installation, adding feeds, playing episodes, managing downloads, queue sync, and migrating from another player. And you could do lots of stuff. I've built quite a lot of functionality into it. You could read through the README or click onto the commands markdown file, which will go a little bit more in depth, right? Or you could use the in-app help browser, but I will show that later, right? So install, it's pretty straightforward. Just take the command, paste it in your terminal. You could also use a package manager like winget for Windows, or the Arch user repository, which I submitted a binary for, right? You could just, if you're used to it and you're using an Arch-based system, like for example CacheOS or Endeavour, or I think SteamOS is also, SteamOS 3.0 is based on Arch, I guess. You could also just Podliner -bin and install it that way, right? And after you've installed that, you may also use just a normal help one, where you could import your stuff, switch to ASCII mode if you got some issues, logs version. You can also set the theme right away, or get some information via command line output. I'll just launch the application, and that's how it looks like, right? On the left we got our feeds and the episodes pane, details, the player, and some more information on the top, right? You can move those things around via commands. Commands work like the ones in Vim. Like for example, write for save. You could also use the in-app help browser if you don't want to navigate to the GitHub repo and read through it that way, right? So that's how I would do it. Double and help. You can see I've already added some feeds right there. Here the commands how to navigate. You could use your arrows, but you could also use Vim key bind, like I for example do. On the commands pane there are a lot of things to do. You can also navigate using go-tos, I guess. I didn't use that one at first, but I mean, yeah, you can do that. And if you want to know something, you could just skim through that and you would probably find it, right? For example, adding, you would just double point add, and now your feed, switch audio player engines via the engine one, right? MPV, for example. Okay, normally it's an auto. Windows also supports Media Foundation. You can also rearrange where the player should be on top, for example, or some stuff like that. Or you could navigate via mouse, right? And click the your desired entities on top of the general view. Yeah, the command is also described next to it, right? You could also skim through your playing history and playing progress via mouse.
Kommt man ganz schnell zum Punkt, wo versprochen wird,
or adjust the speed, skim, or you can also download them, right, for offline playback. Let's just do that. Download. Or /DL is also one, and now it will download in the background, right? You can see it on the top right, one of the 3 downloaded yet. And that's one of the things you can do, right? If you want another audio engine, for example MPV, you would of course need to install that one. You could switch the theme via T. I think that one looks nice, where the episodes are transparent and the rest is sort of like, maybe I will add a few other ones. Playing episode is pretty straightforward. Navigating via mouse or key bindings, right? Press space. You can also save them, for example, for later, or add them to the queue. You can watch your queue right there, the history as well. The saved ones, downloads, all episodes right there. Search is also pretty straightforward. You could filter your feed. You could just search, for example, Jagd. Let's see. Okay, here are all the things which match the string Jagd. On all episodes, you will also see which podcast they are from, right? The details tab, which will have date, your direct audio link, and your show notes. And one thing I was interested in, which I've added after an issue, so thanks for that, which was gPodder sync. So you may as well sync your application with gPodder, which is a sync system used by some podcasts applications, for example Nextpod or AntennaPod, for example. Use them. The credentials are stored using your OS keyring while available. For example, libsecret on Linux, keychain on macOS, credential store on Windows. And if the keyring isn't available, it will just fall back to your local file with a one-time warning. And to do a full sync, you would just pull your subscriptions, for example. Let's go through that one. Sync, where do I have it? Oh, I think I haven't edited it. I haven't edited. Okay. So that's one thing I need to add into the help browser, I guess. Forgot that one. So we just type sync, for example, and it would automatically sync your stuff with gPodder or sync auto on, which is the automatic one. Sync status for get your status. I've deactivated the notification badge right now. You won't see that because I'm recording right now, but it will just come up right here. For example, here's my gPodder subscriptions. You can see those are the feeds on my application, which syncs via gPodder. Migrating is also pretty straightforward. Just opml import, and then you would just add your file path or export the same way, right? The config is under config Podliner, right? Yeah, and here are your library, your downloads, your app settings. For example, let's go into app settings. It's all done via JSON. You may find them under app data on Windows. And you could also just use those settings to port to, like another system. And yeah, that's a little walkthrough. So Podliner is open source under GPL version 3, like you can see. Link to the GitHub is in the description, and if something's broken, please file an issue and attach some logs. It would make debugging for me a lot faster, right? And if you're moving from a GUI player and find yourself reaching for the mouse, give it a week. And once the key bindings are muscle memory, the terminal feels faster, right? Than anything with a click target. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you again next time.